Right. Getting all this tech down, getting good at it. All right. Let me get my view back here. Great. Patricia, are you still there? Getting all this tech down, getting good at it. All right. Patricia, are you there? Oh no, did I lose your? Hey, you guys, welcome to Primal Hacker channel, where we have tech issues with almost every single podcast because there's some unforeseen forces that clearly don't want us to be talking. So welcome to the Taboo Talking channel, perhaps. We should rename it. I'm not sure. All right. Here we go, Patricia.
Okay.
You guys, we were just talking about this before the podcast, and I was like, we need to send out like big connection, golden light energy so that our connection stays stable. Because I'm not kidding, this happens almost every single time. And I don't want to stamp that into the universe either, but but it's happening every single time. So I don't really know how to render that. Patricia. Okay. Welcome back. Are you good? We're connected. Okay. All right. So welcome everybody on the Primal Hacker Live channel. If you have questions, Thaddeus will be fielding questions in the other room, and then put your questions in all caps, and then I'll address them toward the end of the podcast. As for now, we are going to start recording, and I'm going to welcome in our precious guest, Patricia. All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Pool Party Podcast. I am your host, Tamaro. And today I have the most wonderful guest. She's a new acquaintance into my world, and I couldn't be happier to be in a Jedi field with this woman. Her name is Patricia Loff, and Patricia and I met through a leadership program. And we became good friends, and she wasn't quite sure about being friends with me at first, but I know I'm just teasing her. But we became best friends, and I found that, you guys, Patricia is a wealth of knowledge. She is literally a Jedi master, and I don't say that lightly. And we would be on group meetings, and she would be teaching people small energy hacks to help with lower back pain or help with headaches. And I'm like, I actually had that thought, Patricia. I'm like, you are actually a Jedi master. So I wanted to bring her on the podcast and share this information, share what she's teaching with everybody. I'm so excited to have you. So thank you for taking the time in your busy life. And we're going to go over how busy this woman is and how badass she is too, you guys. So welcome, Patricia, to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. All right, you guys, I'm going to give you a quick background on Patricia so you have a little information on what she does and what she's about. So Patricia is the founder and CEO of Rapid Health Transformation, which provides education to individuals who seek to reverse a diagnosis. Patricia coaches individuals, groups, and runs workshops and speaks at events. She gained expert knowledge after experiencing her own health transformation more than 20 years ago. After being given 3 to 6 months to live and more than 10 years of study, she discovered what it took to reverse disease. Subsequently, Patricia went on to study traditional Chinese medicine with a specialization in a particular body of medical Qigong wisdom. In the course of the study, she discovered that the human capacity to reverse disease has been known for 5,000 years. Wow. That's quite a bio. And this is how I synthesize that is Jedi Master right here.
Okay.
So yeah. So, all right, Patricia. So let's, okay. Hi, welcome everybody into the YouTube. I'm doing 2 different things at once here. So, Patricia, okay. So you have, we've talked about your background quite a bit, and I would love for people to give, if you could just give, a quick summary of how things went down in your house, what you had to overcome, and then go into your own self-discovery and your self-illumination, through your diagnosis. Right. And then, so just, and I don't want to spend too much time on going into the past because there's so much we have to cover and so much we get to talk about. So if you want to go down that road, we're ready for it. We're ready for your story.
Okay, I'll make it short.
Yeah.
So I grew up in a house of addicts. My parents were addicts, and so it was really violent and chaotic home. And when I was very young, around 10 years old, I guess, I started to get sick. But because my parents were addicts, they weren't interested in taking me to the doctor, even though it lasted for years. The illness lasted for years. First, very intermittent and far apart. And then as the years went by, it got closer and closer together. So when I hit my own adulthood, I did go see a doctor. And after many means of trying to discover what the heck was going on, I had surgery, and they discovered that I had probably what originated as cervical cancer in my body. And so that's when the surgeries and the medications and surgeries and medications started. And so that went on for a number of years too. And it took a few years for me to discover or to realize I wasn't going to get where I wanted to go through the regular medical route. Mm-hmm. I wanted a complete reversal of diagnosis. Like, I wanted to aim big, and they were trying to convince me to settle for small, which didn't sit right with me. So I began to study, and I studied Buddhism, the power of the mind, for about 10 years. And I learned how to meditate, which was coming out of such a chaotic environment, was just such a relief to know that you can go somewhere within your own body and find peace. And but still my health deteriorated. And finally I was given 3 to 6 months to live. And then exactly 2 weeks after I got that prognosis, I got a package in the mail about some research that was recent at the time, about the connection between our thoughts and the way we respond to stimulus altogether, mm-hmm. and the cascade of events that follows after that. So we respond to a stimulus by having a thought, for instance. Then a chemical is produced in the body. The chemical travels to a cell in the body, docks on a receptor site in the body, and deposits information into the cell of the body. The information that's deposited is dependent on the thought or the response to stimulus that happened initially. And so then that information that's deposited influences how the cell operates and eventually how it replicates. I was so thrilled to find this information. I started to play with it right away, mm-hmm. and I started to feel results in my body within 3 weeks.
So what was the thing that you were doing? Like, that was
well, I was monitoring my thoughts to begin with. Okay. And do I have, so if I'm having negative thoughts, how is that influencing the cells in my body? If I'm having positive thoughts, I was astounded to discover how many negative thoughts I was having. But that's typical of most people. Most people have about 70%. I probably had about 97% at that time. Really? But yeah, well, according to the way I was programmed coming up in the household that I came up in. Yeah. So I was shocked. And then it was just a realization that no wonder I'm as sick as I am. And so it took about 3 weeks to feel a different sensation in my body, like dramatically less pain. And so the doctor still wanted me to have more surgery to save my life, and I knew I wasn't going to have any more surgery. So it took about 18 months really to reverse everything and get rid of all the tumors that were in my body. There were something like 26 of them at that time.
What?
Yes. Yeah.
Were they all like in your womb, cervical? Like,
no, no, they were everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah. Kidneys, lungs. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, so they were like kind of categorizing you, I would imagine, at like a stage of cancer, right?
Oh, I mean, 3 to 6 months to live. Yeah.
So that was like stage 4.
Yeah. I'm not sure if they categorized it like that back then. Okay. But definitely multiple organ failure kind of stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
Like you were having organ failure, or they were saying you were going to?
I was in organ failure. Yeah.
You were.
Yeah.
What? Oh my God. Yeah. I didn't even know this. We've been talking for 4 months and I didn't know that part.
Yeah, more
Dang.
information than you needed.
It's really good, because you guys, like, this is the part where it's like, it doesn't matter how far you are, right? As long as you're as long as you're still breathing, like there's still.
I think there is a tipping point where you kind of lose some capacity to
Okay.
to to um, to monitor or manage your own thoughts, which is the kind of a crucial part.
Okay.
So, but that tipping point is a lot farther away than people think. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm a little, like, kind of stunned by that. Like,
Okay.
like, I mean, yeah. So I'm just like, how does one go from, like, I mean, even in my own, like, as I'm reading your book and your ebook, and it's and I know you have many ebooks, but it's the emotion book. And tell me the title again. It's
uh, um
use your
use your
emotions to heal your
emotions.
body. Yeah, to
Yeah.
heal your body. Well, and it's like, like, even when I have a little stomach ache, or if I have, like, I don't get sick very often,
Yeah.
but like, you guys, your whole life, like, just stops. You know what I mean? Like, everything comes to a standstill, and and that's why that's why I have this podcast. Is
Yes.
because, like, then you do everything you can to try to get that back. You spend all the money you spend, right? And oh, it looks like your sister's on. On
Oh.
the yeah. Hi, Debbie. So you spend all your time and energy, right? Like, trying to get your body back and in a healthy situation. And like, just in my own thought, like, holy crap, if one little thing is wrong with me, like, I can't imagine what you were like in that state, right?
it,
Of
it
like,
it becomes your entire life.
yeah.
That is your entire life. Yeah.
So then how does hopelessness, like, kind of fall into that? Because I feel like a lot of people, like, just give up, or like, it's hopeless, right? Like, I don't really want to fight anymore, and I'm tired, like, so where did you go through that?
I don't think I ever had hopelessness, but I did have surrender.
Okay.
Um, I
Okay.
I had one last surgery that I did have, and I woke up and I could feel the life leaving my body, and I knew I would never have another surgery because I knew that I wouldn't live through it. So
Oh,
so then when they told me 3 months later the tumors were back and I'd have to have more surgery, and at that point I just accepted that that's where I was. But I think that's an important point too, though.
yeah.
So you're not in a state of fighting, you're not in a state of resistance, you're not
Mhm.
in a state of striving, that
Mhm.
all that energy that can that can kind of pollute our system.
Mhm.
And so I think that's why, I mean, if somebody thinks there's not a universal intelligence out there,
Yeah.
they haven't been paying attention. But
Right.
I think that's the point where I was able to get that information that I needed to change everything around.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'd like to just swing over to the diagnosis piece at this point.
Okay.
So, like, you had a diagnosis, and, like, where was your mindset, like, from the beginning to the end of, like, because we were talking about this before before we went live, you guys, and we were talking about, like, when somebody hands you a diagnosis, right? Like,
Mhm.
this is this authority figure. So could you just share what your, wisdom with us, please, around that?
So at the beginning, when I started to get sick, I didn't know what it was. I knew it wasn't. I knew it wasn't something normal because the pain was excruciating,
Mm,
but I didn't know what it was. And so
mm,
I went through all these years of just not knowing. And so then when I first started to see doctors, they would tell me things like, you might need to see a psychiatrist because there's nothing wrong with you. And in the
oh,
meantime, I'm in incredible pain and projectile vomiting and all the messy stuff. And then when I finally did get a diagnosis, I was relieved because I thought, okay, there's kind of some confirmation that there is something kind of wrong.
okay.
Um, but ultimately that's irrelevant. But what does happen though
Mm,
is you get a diagnosis, and then you get another diagnosis, and you get another diagnosis from a figure that is uh, perhaps more knowledgeable, we think, perhaps has more information, is an expert in their field, and so they have this voice of authority. And what happens with the mind when they hear something from a voice of authority, like these days anybody with a microphone can do it,
yeah.
the mind loves to attach to a voice of authority, and it will be easily influenced by a voice of authority. So for a lot of people who get the diagnosis, that's kind of like what happened to me. It's a confirmation,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a truth. And
Okay.
your mind believes the words and the images you give it. So if it's coming from a voice of authority, which the mind loves, because then it doesn't have to do its own work,
Mm.
and you keep saying, oh, I have cancer, I'm a cancer survivor, I'm a cancer patient, or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
the mind is going to say, well, that's our truth then, and
Right.
let's go with that. So it's I think these days, especially after the last couple of years, so important to be your own voice of authority when
Mm-hmm.
it comes to your own body. Your body is a unique specimen. It's not a textbook. It's not an average. It's a unique specimen. And there's only one person that knows what it feels like and what it runs like.
Mm. That is so beautiful. Could you actually, can I just get you to repeat that a little bit louder? Because like that's my whole podcast is about that, and you say it so
Yes.
eloquently, and like I really want you guys to let this sink in. Like honestly, this is so important. If could you just I'm serious, like could you just repeat that again?
I think more than ever, especially after we've experienced the last couple of years,
Yeah.
it's so important to be your own health authority because your body is unique. It's a unique specimen. It only belongs to you. Nobody else, there's only one person in the world that knows what it feels like and what it operates like, and that's you. And so you're not a textbook, you're not an average, you're a unique specimen that has its own unique way of operating, and you can get really intimate with how that how that operating system runs, and when it starts to go off balance and how to bring it back from imbalance.
So beautiful, Patricia. You're going to be my new spokesperson.
Okay.
I know. I'm
I'll
just,
advertise for you any day.
oh, that's so awesome. Oh my gosh, it's so good because we have it so backwards, right? I
Yes.
mean, what 98% of the people like don't understand this, don't even have it in their field, right? Like
Right.
to bring it in. So, and I feel like that's part of the reason I like a lot of times I have tech issues because we're very powerful. And I have to tell you this really quick. There's a rainbow on the side of you. I don't really see auras or anything, but I'm seeing some colors around your aura today.
That's good.
I know it's so fun. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like from my own, like swirly background, but I swear you've got like some rainbow thing on the right side of your head.
Thank
In
you.
case you didn't know that. Okay. So let's get back to your diagnosis. So then so what changed in you, right, to make, because like there's a mental switch that had to have flipped, right? And then do you remember that point? Because like I have a point where things have flipped for me, and I can be, because I can tell you exactly where I was, what I was wearing, you know what I mean? Like, is there a point in time when there's a switch that you're just like, I'm done with that?
Yes, I think there were a couple of switches, and
Okay.
they just kept on getting deeper and deeper. So one
Mm.
was when I woke up from that surgery and I knew I
Mm.
wasn't going to have another one. The
Mm-hmm.
second one was when they said you have to have another surgery, and I knew I wouldn't.
Okay.
This was my first defiance of the healthcare system.
Yes.
Yes, and well, my first big one. We had quite a few of the minor ones, but it was mostly an egoic junkie
Yeah.
thing.
Okay.
Then being given 3 to 6 months to live, massive surrender at that point.
Mm.
Like, I've done everything that I could, I thought at that time. And then the next one was recognizing the quality of my own thoughts and responses to my life and the world around me.
Mm.
That was a massive switch.
Mm.
Um, and then when I actually realized the end of tumors in my body, which I'd lived with for decades, like literally decades. I couldn't be the same person after that.
Yeah. Oh my God. So, okay. So they're in your book, you talk about a formula, right?
Mhm.
So is that what you use to then release, right? Like how did the releasing of the tumors like actually happen?
It's not even the releasing of the tumors. It's making
Okay.
your body so that it is not so welcome to the disease process. And so it starts with monitoring the thoughts. If I'm thinking negative thoughts just as I walk around in my everyday life, can I stop them? And the answer is yes. And so then what happens when I stop them? I don't replace them with anything. That's a big myth. Don't replace negative thinking with positive thinking, because the negative thinking is drawn up from the subconscious mind. Positive thinking comes down from the conscious mind and will not penetrate the patterning of the subconscious mind. While you're in a conscious state, while you're in an everyday walking around brainwave pattern. There's a way to do it, but you have to be in a particular brainwave state.
Is it the alpha state?
Beyond alpha. Alpha works a little bit, yeah.
Is it theta that then you want people in then?
You can start at a low beta,
okay.
alpha next. Theta might be too far. So it's not too.
Oh, it's delta then. Is delta?
No, delta sleep.
Oh, delta sleep. Okay.
Yeah. So just before you get to that sleep pattern, I can send you the little graphic on it if you want. Okay.
I mean, I went to the Dr. Joe week long. I should know this, but
yeah, he does that too. He does that too. So you want to get into that space where you're still conscious, but you're in a particular brainwave pattern that you have access to the subconscious. So you can do it that way. And then with the emotional piece, like the subconscious mind is expressed through the body, and that is where we feel our emotions. And I think one of the misconceptions is that the heart is, or the emotional sense of ourselves is weaker than the mental portion of ourselves, and it's exactly the opposite way around. So what you can do is notice, like, am I having negative emotions? Why am I having negative emotions? And then how can I reprogram those negative emotions? So that's a start. And then how can I design them for the future so I don't have this emotional pattern anymore? Can I design something and then live in that design now? So I'm designing my future emotional self. Can I adopt that as myself today? That's how you propel yourself forward faster.
Okay, so I'm hearing pattern interrupt, right?
Yep.
So you're interrupting that pattern. Yep. And then what you're saying is, getting yourself into that hypnosis state, right? Yep. And that's where the reprogramming into the subconscious happens.
Correct.
So then that effervesces out into your daily habits, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And then your habits. Well, so how do the habits and emotions, like, I'm trying to like cog them together.
So can you then, in that state that you're in the hypnosis or meditative state, can you hold that when you're in your regular beta brainwave state, like in your regular walking around state? Okay. Can you hold that, and how long can you hold it? And the more you practice it, the more you get it. Wow. So, and then it just changes who you are, which changes what you do, and changes your habits, changes your motivation, changes your feelings about everything. Yeah.
I mean, and so that's why, like, people with multiple personality disorders, right? Like, they can have allergies with one personality, and then like, how do you cognate that? I was always so fascinated by that. I'm like,
that is, but that is the power of the mind and the emotions and the energy of the body. So it just changes. Like, if you change your if you change your thoughts, change your emotional patterns, your thought patterns, emotional patterns, it changes the information going to the cells of the body, which changes the energy outside of the cell and changes the energy outside of the body, which is where you attract and experience the experiences you have.
So you guys, she's talking about like law of attraction, right? This is how.
That is how the law of attraction works. Like, we attract what we are, not what we want.
Right. That's Wayne Dyer too.
It would be a lot easier if I could just say, I just want that and have it. And you can, but you have to change yourself into that person.
So my galactic shaman friend would say you can have that in 4D, in fourth dimension.
Yes.
Right.
That is it. It.
Yeah. So then people might be like, okay, so what? Oh, that is the same gamma, or theta is the hypnosis state. Is gamma the...
Oh yeah. Okay. So gamma is the real quick one, right? Is that correct?
That is the gamma, the quick one she's asking, but then he says theta is hypnosis state.
Okay. That's the one. Okay. I was thinking of gamma when you said theta.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Gamma comes after that. Yeah. So yeah, he's right. Theta. It's the theta state.
And isn't it? I always think it's so. I had the sunlight coming in. I normally.
You're glowing.
I don't podcast at this time of day. Usually it's more toward the afternoon. I have to like get over here now. I'm like that. Okay, so isn't it interesting why they attach all these Greek words to all these states of mind? I don't know. I'm always fascinated by like word and etymology and like where words come from. But yeah, it's so crazy. And so like I'm studying a lot of Bob Proctor stuff right now and Proctor Gallagher Institute. And okay, so Thaddeus is saying gamma is the fastest.
Yeah.
The least studied too, he's saying.
I know it's the most fascinating for sure. Yeah.
Okay. And so this is all the stuff that Bob's teaching, right? Or Bob was teaching. He's not in his body anymore, but it's so fascinating. And have you studied with the Proctor Gallagher Institute?
I've just studied some of their things. Okay. Yeah, it's fascinating for sure. Yeah.
Right. And then getting back to like even that gnosis word, it's a Greek word, right? Latin Greek word gnosis. And you guys think of all the words like Patricia's already said already, self-gnosis, hypnosis, right? Like this knowing. And that's what you're really saying is like you have this knowing within your body, right?
Absolutely.
And it's a matter of like pulling it out there. And I was in a coaching session yesterday and I said, you're like an everlasting gobstopper. And she's like, Heidi, you got to use that in your coaching session, especially when you're talking to kids. And I was like, I love that. I mean, look at my background. I was like, oh my God, I love that. And it's so true. And Bob was saying this morning on a video that, like originally we would send kids to school, probably, back in the Greek days or whatever, right? To pull, because it's already in there. The gnosis is inside of us. Right. And the school's job was to pull it out of us, not fill us with all this extra information.
Correct.
So we've got a ways to go, and like where we've come, we've actually gone backwards.
Correct.
Does that make sense? Yeah. What is your opinion about schools? I know it's getting a little off topic, but like, what's your opinion about education? And
I think education is almost dangerous at this point because, I mean, that's kind of a strong word, I guess, but I would not send a child to public education, not only because of the way of what they're teaching, but the way, like the philosophy of teaching that they have. I think they've gone way off track in what they're teaching and what they think their job is. So they're not setting children up for success. So there's no point in sending them, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. I used to be a substitute teacher, and the stuff I saw go on, like you guys, like I couldn't even probably talk about it publicly. I mean, it is, and I was in elementary, middle, and high school. I actually got kicked out of the high school because I took the kids outside. They were in a classroom with no windows. Patricia, I'm not kidding. A Wi-Fi router over their head. Oh. I mean, it was so debilitating for me to just be in that space. And these kids are in there every single day. And I'm just like, I couldn't. And so I took them outside, and I didn't have permission to take them outside. So they didn't ask me to come back. And I'm like, are you like, they're like caged animals. And not only that, every single one of them had a cell phone in their pocket. We were in a giant microwave radiation, like soup. It was gross. And
the thing I'm going to say about that though, we also have to learn how to become more powerful than that.
Yes. Yeah.
So instead of, I've got 5G near my house, how can I be more powerful than 5G?
Yeah. Okay. So tell us, that's one of my questions. Thaddeus, you got to hear this.
So that is one of the things, like, that's the whole healing process. As soon as you start to build your own autonomy by monitoring your thoughts and designing your thoughts and designing your emotions and designing your energy, you become more and more powerful. Like I've got teachers who could throw you out of your chair right now from another country. So are you going to
do that to me?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not them yet.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. Like if we have that capacity, why are we worrying about all the stuff out there? Why aren't we worrying or using that energy to build our own capacity.
Okay, so my first thought of that is because most people aren't studying qigong from the time they're little to build up to that point, right? So the qigong masters, right? They're indoctrinated into this self-gnosis, right? Study and become that powerful. Like, does it take a lifetime to get to that point, or is it?
It can happen. Like, again, that's limited. That's the limited thinking we're taught. Like, paradigm. You need this whole, we need this whole length of time in order to be something else. So then that becomes discouraging. But what if you don't?
Wow.
Like, what if you can start to make changes right away? Like, I just had a conversation with a woman a couple of months ago, a 1 hour conversation, 4th stage lung cancer. And now she's getting different results from a 1 hour conversation. So what if it doesn't take that long?
So what you're saying, it's our limiting beliefs and our paradigm that we have, right? That we can change. Okay. So then I can hear a skeptic saying, okay, so how do you change that? And that's what you're saying about going into the hypnotic state of reprogramming, right?
Yeah.
So it's a computer program.
Really, from the minute that we're born until about 7 years old, that's when all the conforming programming gets laid down, so that we behave, we conform to society, we don't have original thought because that's not generally accepted. And in some cases, kids are to be seen, not heard, girls shouldn't talk, all that kind of stuff. And money is scarce, and all of these limits all get laid down, or mostly get laid down from 0 to 7. And so then we live like that. Unless we challenge it. But we can challenge it. Like, if you're not getting the results that you want, start to challenge whatever it is that you're thinking and feeling.
Okay, like you're going to be my new vote for president.
Okay.
Who wants Patricia to restructure our whole world?
Yeah.
No, seriously, like this.
But we all should be doing it. That's how you get it. Yeah. You get the critical mass moving in one direction, and poof.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And we only need 3% of us to do that.
Really?
Yes.
How do you come up with that number?
That's a statistical norm that's been around for about 100 years. So if you want political change, you need a movement of about 3% to make that change. If you want, intellectual change, 3% to make an intellectual change. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Because I mean, in my mind, I'm imagining like a flock of birds, flowing together, right? And like how they're in so much harmony, and how do they know? How do they know?
And working with horses, the same thing. Like, how do they know? How do they know who I am before I even get there?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, and in the Tao of Equus, I read that the horse can feel a vibration on the earth of a predator up to a mile away from the vibration through their hoof print, or their hoof on the earth.
Yeah.
And I've always been like so fascinated by that. And I love that.
And here's the other thing about, I mean, we're off topic a little bit, but the other thing about the equine world is because their magnetic field is so much more powerful than ours. When we get into their space, ours tries to modulate to their magnetic field.
What?
That's why horses and healing go so well together.
Oh, that's so beautiful. I miss riding horses so bad.
Yeah.
I can't wait to come ride with you someday.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. My daughter just wrote that on her vision board. She's like, I want to ride horses, because she's super allergic to horses. So we have her, we had her around some of the curly horses. I know we're off topic and we're horse people. So and it's my podcast. So I can do whatever I want.
That's right. I like
it. So she rides these curly horses, and I think we've talked about that a little bit, where they're missing they're hypoallergenic or something. So she doesn't have
they can be. Yeah. My husband used to breed them.
Oh, that's right. That's right. We talked about that when we first met. Yes, yes. And do you have any more of those, or
no? The last one we sold maybe 10 years or so ago, and he's living in west of here with a really good family. But yeah, the last of his line that's the last of his line that he bred.
Okay.
So yeah.
So Patricia, tell our audience too, like, just tell us a little bit more about like your life. And I know we're gonna go back a little bit, but you're like, you're an incredible like healing, entity in this world. You have a horse ranch, like you have a lot on your plate. And like, how do you even manage all of it? And like, tell everybody like kind of what you do when you're not doing not medicine, but healing.
I'm almost always doing that, creating something for a group or an individual. I do work a lot, but it's mostly creating things that people are going to find useful. But I live on a farm in southern Alberta, and we have horses and dogs and a cat. And I just, I just love it so much. And there's chores that go along with that.
Yeah, do you have cows too?
No, we have cows next door. Yeah, all of our neighbors have cattle.
Okay,
so
okay.
We kind of play with those a little bit.
And I also, can you share a little bit about your bear encounter? Because it's just so fascinating. You guys, this woman like literally makes my head spin because like when she comes onto like our group coaching call when we were in our leadership program, she's like, I had an encounter with a grizzly today. And look she's like so humble, so just nonchalant, like, I thought it might be the end. Like she's not, you're so even, like you can tell that you are a practicing Buddhist and like your Zen is like your game is on.
I'll tell you that story, and then I'll tell you a funny story after that too.
Okay. Yeah.
So I had to go down and check some fences. It was in the evening. And so it was the sun was just about to set, I would say. And I was running down the trail that we have from the house to go and check these fences. And my dog was with me, and she turned around and I turned around, and then behind us on the trail was a mother grizzly and her 3 babies. And her 3 babies were like 3 times the size of my German Shepherd. So
you saw the babies too?
Oh, yes, they were there with her. Yes.
Oh my God.
And so I thought, well, legitimately, this could be the end of me because a mother and a grizzlies, and she's coming for me. I didn't come across her or anything. So she saw us and came to us. So I went behind this rickety little barbed wire fence, and I thought, if worse came to worse, I'll stand up on this post and see if I can avoid her. And then I held my arms up and started screaming at the top of my lungs just to make myself less palatable or less desirable. and then I wiggled the fence post that was in front of me. I mean, I could have pulled it out with 2 fingers. It was the wobbliest fence post in the country. And so I guess she and my dog was trying to get her attention and kind of make her go in a different direction, but she wasn't having that. So eventually, I guess I screamed enough that she decided to go away, and I could get back. Like, she was standing in between me and home, and what was behind me was wilderness. Like, there's nothing. So
wait, when you say was there trees or no?
No,
it was just barren
land. Just hills and pasture land. Yeah, no trees. No. So there's no way I could have gotten away from her if I decided to run, which is a bad idea anyway. Yeah. So I just thought, well, I'll just stand my ground because that's all I got. So I screamed enough that she turned and went back where she was, down the hill and out of the way. And I started to go back, and then she started to come forward for me, and I started to scream again, and she went back, and I started to go again, and finally we got away. So I would tell people this story, like I tell the group that we were in, the leadership group, and everybody's like that. I tell people around here and they go, oh yeah, she's not so bad, like the mama bear.
What?
It's because we're so used to it. Everybody was so used to, oh yeah, she's a good one. No, don't worry about that. Yeah. And she was like 20 or 30 feet away from me. Like, she was really close. She stood up on her hind end, and I could hear her breathing in her nose as she's trying to catch my scent. Yeah, she was close.
Oh my God. I'm like shaking inside, terrified. And she's laughing and like,
well, I like the difference of opinion, like people that are kind of used to wildlife and she's all right. Don't worry about her.
And what if she's not okay?
What if she was hungry? Yeah. What if she wanted to feed her babies? Yeah.
Well, right. Well, and when you were telling the story too, like, this is exactly how she's telling the story. And this was like the day before, or like it happened
the day after. Yeah.
The day after. And I'm like, How is she so calm? And I'm pushing on my bindi.
My sister was here, and so I got back to the house, and she heard me screaming, and so she went to get my husband, and they drove up in the truck, but I was already out of it by then. And my sister is just bawling her eyes out.
Right?
And I'm going, yeah, come on, let's go have some dessert or something.
Let's go have dessert. Oh my God, you're such a trip.
It's such a good experience, though, really,
seriously.
to do something like that. Yeah.
So, okay. So like you're in this experience and you're like, this might be it for me, right? Like my chances of surviving a mother grizzly are pretty slim in most cases. Like they don't
I think
end
so.
up well. Right?
That's what they say. Yeah.
Yeah. And so your sister, I think it's your sister. Yeah. Debbie is saying, what if she wasn't the one that's okay? What if she is, what if she wasn't the one that's okay? I don't really know what that means, Debbie.
I don't either. Can you put it another way?
Yeah. She's enjoying your storytelling. So, okay. So like, you're like, this could be it for me. Right. And so like, what's going through your mind at that time? Like clearly you're like, there's something else I can do. Right. So what am I going to do? But do you have a reflection or like, I don't know what.
I think the mind in those situations works so incredibly quickly. You can do this really rapid assessment of what your options are, like really quickly.
Yeah.
I knew that I couldn't run because there was nothing to run to. There's just openness, hills, but she can outrun me in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And so then what's my other option? I kind of heard in the back of my mind, make yourself look big. So, like that. and then, this could be the end. And so, for me, I don't know when I'm going to die, and I don't think anybody else does either. Yeah. But if I'm going to go out in nature is where I would want to go.
You're so beautiful.
But I mean, that's not a bad way to go, I think.
Yeah. Definitely. Oh, okay. So what's your other funny story? You're gonna
that was it. The difference between telling people that aren't kind of used to wildlife and people that are
got it. Okay.
That live out here. It's just like, yeah.
And you're north of like Glacier, because we were out in Glacier and you're like, oh hey, wave to me across the border.
I know.
Right.
We were so close.
Are you at an elevation where there are no trees? Like you're
we do have some trees here. So we're in the foothills of the Rockies. And so as it stretches out from the Rockies, the trees become less and it gets more into prairie. And so we're kind of between the prairie and the Rockies. Okay. So we don't have a lot of trees. We do on our property because they've been planted. But we don't in general around here, there's not a lot. Like down by the creeks and the rivers, there's a lot of trees. But we're not down there.
Wow. So you manage a lot, right? Like you're managing horses and chores, and like we would be in this leadership program, you guys, and Patricia, we'd have a break. Like you only get so much time too. Sometimes it'd be like a 10-minute break or, 20-minute break. Patricia's like not getting her food like the rest of us. She's out like running, doing all her horse chores. And then she comes back and gets in her seat and she's like, because if you're late, like there's a deal with that. You can't be late. And she was never late. She was like always, maybe one time you were just like kind of like swooshing back into your chair, but honest to God, like you run this business, you are super, super like, profound at the technique that you're teaching and helping and healing people. And I can't even imagine like the emotional support that you have to give, right? Like just physical. We're talking about physical right now and like managing all of that, managing your home and then being there, right? Supporting, like, I know how it's to be there supporting, like for my children and like you have like, think of all your clients as children, like how much emotional support. And then you must have your own routines in your own way, right? I think horses would probably be right. What you would say, it was kind of fills you, that goes and fills you back up, right?
Definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
I do have tremendous, I have a tremendous circle of friends and family, like my sister's on here. Okay. And we're all really close. So I have that. I
Mhm.
meditate, of course, every morning.
Okay.
And I do some form of exercise every morning to get my body moving, because even though diet and exercise are not the hallmarks of health and healing that we've been led to believe they are,
Hmm.
they are still a piece of it.
Yeah.
And I try to do that as well as I can. I'm not perfect at
Yeah.
it.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about your morning routine. Like you meditate, like tell us just a little bit, give us a little bit more about like what it is. Cause I meditate in so many different ways. I'm just curious, like what you
I usually do
do.
a qigong meditation, like a meridian breathing or something like that.
Okay.
Just because I find it so powerful for me.
Mm,
And then I do some form of exercise. Sometimes qigong. I'll be doing qigong next year. I'm going to get my masteries in the movement piece of it, I think.
oh, okay.
And then I take the dogs for a walk, and so we usually go for a couple miles or so, and then come home and start my day.
So are you nervous that you're going to run into the grizzly on your walk again? Sorry to circle back,
Oh,
but like I would be terrified.
well, now it's November now, and they'll be back
Oh, you're
closer to
right.
the mountains where they can hibernate,
That's
and
right. Okay.
so I'm free and clear for a little while. But I was armed after that when I
Right.
went for a
Okay.
walk. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That's right. Would that even do anything though? Like I've heard people
Just
say that that doesn't.
I would never shoot a bear or any living
Oh,
thing, but
okay.
just for the noise factor to scare them
Mm,
away, that
mm.
does do something. Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. I had an encounter with two bears and I was in a canoe and we started banging on the side of, and they were black bears, but they were big. I
Yes,
don't
they're
know.
big.
They must, I mean, I've seen black bears and they're like little, like dee 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 dee.
Mm.
And these were not little dee 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 dees. These were like, and I was in a little creek and I actually herniated a
Oh,
disc in my neck from paddling so fast away from them because
yeah.
they like locked eyes on us and I was like, oh my God. And then another one came out and I was like, this is scary. My dog was barking and then we started banging and then they ran across. You guys, the creek was like literally maybe 10 feet wide. Like it was tiny.
Wow. Wow.
And then you saw the grasses coming down toward us. The grasses were moving and I was like paddling in the back and I paddled so hard. I was lurching our boat ahead, like with this superhuman power, like what you're saying with that adrenaline, right?
Yeah,
And I actually herniated a disc in my neck
yeah.
doing that. And it was scary. And then we saw the grasses and then they came toward us and then they angled away. And I was like, oh my God, like it is terrifying when you, and I'm not used to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like you're
yeah.
the people around you. I mean, oh, she's not so bad, but like,
Yeah.
I don't even know what to do when, there's a bear. We got to be educated in the wildlife.
Yeah,
But
I went riding after that. Like, I think it was just like 2 days after that. And just over the hill, I could see the three babies, but I couldn't see the mom. And I thought,
Patricia,
I don't think I want to travel too much farther
oh my
to
God,
try
you're so
and maybe encounter
courageous.
her.
Wow. Maybe you got some kind of like superhuman courage when you had that traumatic upbringing with your parents, right? Like maybe that was the program that was being like instilled in your
It,
brain.
could be like, have I lived through worse? Yes. So maybe that's the program. Yeah. So
Really?
yeah. So maybe when I do encounter something, I've already lived through worse. So
Yeah.
it's not as bothersome.
What do
Maybe
you
that's it.
what do you think about past lives? Do you like believe in that? Are you a person that proponents like, yeah, that's like a thing, or is that not a thing in your world? Or like how do you view that?
Can I
I'm
tell
just
you a
curious.
funny story?
Yes, yes, I love stories.
When I was in my 20s, I went to this Christmas party, which was highly unusual for me because I didn't go to parties.
Mm,
And when I was there, it was like 8:30 and I'm putting my coat on because I was bored out of my mind. And this woman comes up to me and says, is it okay if I get a ride home from you? And I said, yeah, sure. This woman is just extraordinarily elegant. Like her hair
mm,
was just professionally done,
mm,
perfect makeup. The
mm,
clothes you could tell were hyper expensive
mm.
and, totally not who I was. And so I gave her a ride home and we came up to her apartment building and she said, come up to my apartment. You'll really like it. And I thought, oh, I don't really want to. And she goes, no, come up to my apartment. So I went up to her apartment and she gave me a glass of juice and she said, sit down for a second. So I sat down. Her apartment was just like mind blowing, like 180-degree views of the city. And like it's a penthouse, as elegant as she was. And I'm wondering, what the heck am I doing here? So she sat down and she said, I'm a medium and I want to do a reading on you. I went, yeah, okay, whatever. I didn't know what a medium was, like, so whatever.
Yeah.
And so she said, she started to go into her medium ritual or whatever it was. And she said, in a past life, you used to be an esteemed Chinese doctor. and I thought, this woman is full of baloney, because she has no idea how sick I am, and I can't even fix myself, let alone. She said, "Oh, you've healed a lot of people, and you were very well respected and very talented in the healing arts." And I thought, that's just so much garbage, because I'm so sick and I can't even heal myself. So I couldn't get out of there fast enough. So then, of course, as I'm trying to fix my own health situation, I came across traditional Chinese medicine, as everybody does. And because of that woman, I just thought, no way am I touching that with a 10-foot pole. It's garbage. It's malarkey. It was just because I was mad at her. And then I was working for healthcare, and I was supposed to be at this meeting. They wanted to do a bunch of changes to healthcare, but they don't really want to do changes. They just want to spend money and make it look like they're doing changes.
Yeah.
So I was late for the meeting because I didn't want to go. And the only seat left was beside this little Chinese guy. And so I went and sat down. And as soon as I sat down, he leaned over and he said, "You've got a headache, don't you?" And I said, "Yeah, I've got a headache." And he said, "Come with me." So we went into another room and he started to poke needles in my head and in my hands. And then my headache went away. And he said, "You should study traditional Chinese medicine." And he gave me a card for a school that I ended up studying traditional Chinese medicine in, because it was just like, okay, I'll study that. And now I study with him. It's the only time he's been in North America, and now I study with him.
It's like the universe just was like handing you, right? Like it almost is like, I'm thinking the golden ticket, like the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, that's so beautiful. Oh, cool.
So do I believe in past lives? I do now.
That's so awesome. I love your stories. I'm just like, like as a podcast host, like, I'm trying to think two to three times like beyond, like where we're at and be present. And I don't know if you guys have ever hosted anything like that before, but it's like, it's not easy to do.
No,
what I've learned, and I'm still learning. Like I'm just constantly studying people and upping my game as well. But I have a long ways to go, but trying, like working on being present. And I don't even know what I was going to say now.
I think you're doing a perfect job. And so I wouldn't guess that you're still learning.
Oh, well, I'm definitely still learning. But when you're storytelling, I'm like fascinated by your story, and I get so like drawn in. And I noticed this about you when we were in our small groups together, that I just be like super drawn in, and I'm like, I forgot what I was doing. And I'm like, I'm on my next question. Like, what am I supposed to be? So just a little background into like, into the world of interviewing, right? And interviewing really smart, talented people can be really intimidating sometimes.
Oh,
so
that I'm not. No, I'm not.
See, and that, you guys, this is why I wanted Patricia on the podcast, because humble people are my favorite. And my husband's like one of the most humble people I've ever met. And you are like absolutely like right there with him. And I'm like, I'm just fascinated by your depth of knowledge and how you can bring that knowledge out and deliver it to people with such humility. And like, I've been there, and you have this nurturing about you, and like, you just like compassion, you can tell, like you study, like the Zen sciences, and that's how you deliver information, and such a balance, I think. And then when I found this swirly thing behind me, I was like, it just seems like a really beautiful thing that you're like conjuring this energy, and you're doing all these things, but you're so sweet in it, unbeknownst, right? Like you're just and you're so successful. Like I mean, honestly, Patricia, I'm gonna start crying now. You're like one of my
I'm gonna
heroes.
start crying.
I know, but you're honestly like one of my heroes, and I'm so thankful that you came into my world. And just how you were saying, like the Chinese medicine man comes into somebody's world, you stepped into my world, and how that happened, like we don't know, right? But I love mentors, and you're definitely one of my mentors, and I love learning all that I can from you. So
You're guys, so sweet.
But I mean, I would go back and watch this podcast again, and I'm actually going to go back and watch it again, because I love this learning. But I really want to, can we segue over to a couple techniques, because that's like something I love, the takeaway and the tangible too. Okay. So like, when we were in our small group, could you, this was the lower back pain. And so someone came into the group and they're like, oh, I have lower back pain. And somebody else said a headache. And oh, your sister's crying. I don't make everybody cry. It's joyful tears. What did you say? You had some really beautiful word. In her book, you guys, she calls it uncaused joy.
Yes.
Uncaused joy.
Yeah.
And we're gonna go back to that. But could you just explain really quick, like lower back pain, Meridian? Are you down with that? Okay.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So lower back pain, one of the most common things that people experience, including me. I've broken my back, and so I have back pain once in a while. It gets better every year, but I still do have it. Like one of the things that causes my back to hurt is vacuuming. Oh well.
Me too. Thaddeus, did you hear that?
Yeah, use that one, ladies. Yeah. But it doesn't hurt when I horseback ride. So anyway, so one of the things in Qigong is this, to wake up the channels in your lower back.
Okay.
And it releases the blockages that cause the pain.
So your hands look like are your hands kind of moving too, or are you kind of stiff, but it seems like you're more relaxed than I am.
Well, the thing that you want to do is meet the webs of your fingers together in a kind of a little snapping motion. Okay. And you can go slow or you can go fast. I just like fast because I like getting things over with quicker.
So you're patient. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes.
Okay.
And so just like that. And then you can feel your back changing. I mean, right when we were doing that in the group, everybody could feel their lower back, something happening in their lower back. So that's one of them. Yes. And then another one is you find the spot in between the bones of your baby finger and your ring finger. Okay. Slide down on both sides of your hand until you get the bone that connects the two at the bottom. And then you just go in a circular motion, clockwise first or whichever way. Just a circular motion one way, 18 times. Circular motion the other way, 18 times. And I think you can just feel that release you should be able to feel a release in your spine, and then do the other hand the same.
I feel like I asked you this before, but the 18, what's the...
Okay, so here's another funny story. Yeah. So depending on who you're studying with, some masters or teachers will say that they figured that the average person will run out of optimum energy around that number. Some teachers will say it's a lucky number, so that's why we're using that number. So the short answer is I have no idea.
I love that. And I love that you're just like, I mean, all this stuff and you're like, I don't know. You guys, that's actually really a cool thing. When somebody's authentic, when they're able to say, I don't know. Right.
Yeah. I mean, I know far from everything. I look to my masters and think of how far I have to go, which is, a few lifetimes away probably. But yeah, so I don't mind saying I don't know because I don't know a lot.
So what else do you see like in your practice? Do you see most people with like really, really advanced cancer, or is it like kind of all over the board and people, looking for help in diabetes and, like all the chronic diseases that we're dealing with right now?
I see mostly cancer because that's the most
Okay.
urgent one. That's the one that wakes people up the quickest.
Mhm.
So that's what I see mostly. And then other things as well. Back pain is another one.
Okay.
Fertility issues are another one.
Oh,
Yeah. And then the chronic ones that like fibromyalgia, that'll get somebody's attention.
oh,
Um,
sure.
yeah, so there's it goes all over the board, but it's primarily cancer because that one that grabs somebody's attention when you get that one.
Right. And the diagnosis, like how do you talk to your clients about the word diagnosis? I know we kind of started with that, but like, can you give us a real, a real
I talk to them about the
visceral?
authority part
Yeah.
because everybody, like even from the time we're little, we give our authority over to our parents. That's the natural state of a child to do that, and
Mm-hmm.
the parent becomes the god. At some point you have to stop doing that, and if you don't stop doing that, you haven't reached your capacity, or you won't reach your capacity. You have to be bringing back your authority in pretty much every area. I know my husband said when you're in business, you can't rely on your accountant to do your accounting. You have to know enough accounting to know when something's going wrong, or because if you hand it over to somebody else, you're going to put yourself up for failure. You're going to place yourself in a place where you can fail.
Okay.
And the same is with your health. Doctors read. This is what the other thing I tell my clients. Doctors read a lot, they study a lot. I get it. They work with a lot of patients. How many of them have reversed a disease? Like really, themselves? How many have reversed a disease themselves?
Zero, because you can only do it yourself.
Yeah, yeah. So what I say to people, don't if you're going to follow somebody's advice, make sure they've done what it is that you want to do.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
So
Beautiful.
so if I was going to say, Heidi, I want to protect myself from EMFs, I'm not going to go ask my brother who has no idea about that. Of course, I'm going to ask you.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Right.
So I just, have they done what you want to do?
Mm-hmm.
Or have they just read a book? Because you can read a book. You
Right.
can read 10,000 books.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody can do the reading. That's the kind of the conclusion I got to, quite far along in my
Mm-hmm.
terrible health journey. But I thought, there's no really difference from me and my doctor, because all he did was read about it. He hasn't actually done what I want to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I better start reading. So I learned how to read medical research, like
Okay.
the real raw material medical research. And then my conclusion was, after reading hundreds of those, that what they're studying is disease. They're not studying healing. They're studying what the problem is, and they're dialing in on what the problem is,
Mm.
and then what to do after the problem, not before the problem starts, or what caused the problem. Nobody was looking for what caused the problem.
Right.
So then I thought, well, then I'd have to start, looking at in other areas. So I went through all the alternative things about reversing disease, and there's some stuff out there, but I want the meat and potatoes. I don't want to have essential oils to make me feel better for 5 minutes
Yeah.
and then go back to having fourth stage cancer after that. I
Mm.
mean, that's just not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
I can go for a massage and feel good for 15 or 20 minutes, or maybe even hours afterwards, but then I
Mm-hmm.
still go back to having fourth stage cancer. So I don't want just a feel good thing. I want a reversal of disease. I want a reversal of the diagnosis. I want the real stuff. So and that comes from deeper within.
So you're saying they are studying the disease and you study the solution.
I study
Yeah.
the healing.
The healing. The
Yeah.
healing. Yeah. So beautiful. Okay, so if you guys are listening, I think Thaddeus put the link into Patricia's website. So Patricia, like, do you have a capacity to take new clients? Are you taking in people right now, or is it like, yeah?
I'm just switching around the way I'm going to be doing things in 2023.
Okay.
And so here's how it's going to look. There's going to be, I'm still going to do some one-on-one clients, some limited one-on-one clients. They're going to be the VIP section,
Okay.
where I will walk you through in 3 months everything that you need to do to reverse your body. The next piece is going to be, I'm going to have 3-day boot camps.
Okay.
So you come and sign in for an intensive 3 days where you get everything you need to reverse a diagnosis in your body. And it's going to be intense, no fluff involved.
It's going to be like HCL intense, like that
yes,
intensity.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. And
Whoa.
then I'm going to have a community. I'm going to build a community where people can just come and sign on for a really low rate, and then just get information dribbled as it comes in. Like it'll be a once a month package of information to go through.
So it's like a membership, basically.
It'll be like a membership, except inside the membership you'll be able to converse with people, kind of like Facebook does, but you get to say whatever you want without being deleted.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And then there'll be like once a month I'll be on doing live things, and I'll have people like hopefully you come on and do interviews and share your expertise and that kind of thing. So
we could do a little Kundalini anger release, or like getting
we could do so many things.
yeah. I've found that has been like one of the modalities that has been with me for over 10 years now, and it's just like every day it's a new gobstopper level, right? Of evolving and getting that out. And that's what I've been teaching people too, is like the energy's stuck, right? And and I think, you go obviously way deeper into it, but to get some of those energy centers moving, and then using that root lock, that breath, right, to get stuff up and out, and dislodging and rearrange, pattern interrupt. Like I'm huge on pattern interrupt. I have this, I think I showed this in our group, like this is on it says pattern interrupt.
Oh yeah.
It's just a reminder, like I don't do every day, I do something different, right? Like it's
because you don't need the stuff that you did yesterday. You need something new now. So of course you have to do things differently. Yeah.
Right. I love what you're just like, yeah, of course. You're so funny.
Yeah.
I mean, most people will be like, why wouldn't you do the same thing every day?
No, you have to grow. Yeah.
I know. Okay. Can we go back to the uncaused joy piece? Cause I love how when I read that, I was like, what is uncaused joy? And then I started kind of like, Rubik's cubing it in my brain, but I'd like you to explain like what you meant by that in your book.
How many people do you think live in a state of joy throughout their day?
Very few. I feel like I do quite a bit.
I think you do too.
Yeah.
And then you have a group of people that feel joy based on a certain circumstance, or based on a certain activity, or based on a certain experience with other people, or a certain person, or whatever. So that's caused joy.
Oh.
So then, so then how many people, so then the next step too is to go like no joy, cause joy, and then uncaused joy. What if joy was your state of being? So, and then how do you get there? You get there by eliminating all the stuff that doesn't allow it. So all the blockages and all the patterns and everything that doesn't allow the state of being of uncaused joy.
Wow. That's so beautiful. Now, is that something like you learned in like the TCM, or?
That's something I learned by myself.
Oh, it is. Okay.
That's my experience. Yeah. So when I started to play with this stuff way back in the beginning, when I was still really sick, I realized how much negative thinking and negative everything I had going on in my being. And then I practiced stopping it. And I kept on doing that for a period of time. I don't know how long it was. And then I was just going up the stairs in my house one day, and I just felt this burst of joy. I went, oh my gosh, that's why you don't replace a positive thought or a negative thought with a positive thought. Because when you don't replace it and you just stop the negative thinking, and you do that repeatedly, that opens the space for what the Buddhists call your true nature to expand. And your true nature is uncaused joy. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, that's so beautiful. Oh my gosh.
And then you get the chemicals of joy,
right?
Which then inform your cells how to operate. And then can you imagine? Yeah. then you're
Exactly.
unstoppable. Yeah.
Well, and what I've noticed lately too is like, like after all the Kundalini stuff that I do, and like I've studied a lot of transformation, I guess, and self-help, and learning about narcissistic relationships, and like how relationships can alter, right? Like, and I talk a lot about that on my own Facebook channel and stuff. And the causes of the outside world. But I've noticed that how quickly I can move now with a negative thought. Yes. And it used to be, you guys, it used to be weeks, right?
Yes.
And what I've noticed is like, then recently it's been days in the maybe past years or so, whatever. And most recently it's like, now it's not hours even, it's minutes, it's seconds. It's so short now. I just go boom, boom. Yeah. And what I learned from like the Bob Proctor teaching is that not covering, putting in with the positive, like you're saying, but I actually go back to my vision.
Yeah.
And so I start rearranging that, right? To like, I don't want that negative thought, and I want to pattern interrupt. I'm not going to judge it. And I'm going to attach and create something, because that's what we are, right? We're creative beings, and that's what we came here to do. Yeah. We can't not do that. We create every second. And you're either creating something or you're creating negativity in your world, right? So I'm creating it. It is what I want. And I love that. Like if joy is like, if you have a bunch of money and you're like, oh, I want, like I'm creating joy. What's your vision of that? And so what Bob is saying too, is like using your imagination and then become emotionally involved in that. How do you feel about the emotional piece of like that? Because I know Zen Buddhists, like you guys like things pretty even and observable, right? And so like one thing I just read something that if you're reacting to something and you're reacting really excitedly, and that's what I do, like I get very excited about stuff. He's like, you can also go over to that reaction of like a negative, and when something really bad goes happen. But what I've found is like, I don't think I feel like that's case by case, because like I don't quite do that anymore. I've noticed that like I can get excited about something and then I don't drop down, but I've been practicing this stuff for a really long time, right?
Yeah.
But I used to do that. And so what I've been working on is like I get excited and then I'm just like, here. There's a threshold. And I don't drop below that. Can you speak a little bit about like kind of what that looks like in your world?
So in Buddhism, I'm not a Zen Buddhist, but I'm
okay.
In Buddhism, that high is equally detracting as the low. So you can go high and then back down and high and back down without going, comparably low. But when you go that high, that's a conflicting state of being. So your emotion is not that you shouldn't be happy. I mean, you can be happy without that rigid energy to it. I don't feel like you have that though. Like my sense of you is that you don't go really as high as you probably think that you do, because on the inside, you're still pretty you're still really fluid. You don't get that rigidity to that, like the Shanda effect. For instance, you don't have that. you don't have that. So, but you have the outward appearance of that, but the inward construct of your being doesn't go all out of control like that.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep. And that's, and that's part of like, I was, I encountered a friend of our family the other day, and she just lost her husband, and she was really upset and whatever, and I had some tears, and I told her, I said, look, I don't do funerals, and I felt like I was being really authentic, and I had never really said that to anybody before, but I don't like, death is it's going to happen. And what we've been told, I feel like, we live in this inverse reality, and death isn't what we've been told. Right. So, and it's hard to like, kind of talk about that with people too, that are programmed to think otherwise. And it's not good or bad, right? There's no judgment in it, but it's like, I'm like, I don't do, I'm like, I'm sorry, I didn't show up because like, I don't do funerals, but if you have a celebration of life, like then, like that to me would be like something. And she said that we had both or whatever. And I was like, oh, but I feel like I don't gravitate and I don't attach to those, right? Like I used to be so empathic, Patricia. I'd just be like, oh my God, it would like wreck my day. Right. And like, I just don't do that anymore. It's a neutral event, but I'm still in compassion and love. Right. And I don't know. Is that how
you don't have the personal buy-in, and you shouldn't have the
right.
personal buy-in
right.
that somebody has for whom that's a personal experience.
Yes.
So I think it's healthy to have the compassion without the personal buy-in or the attachment of it. I think that's a perfectly healthy way to go. And I think that whole switching the death thing from what we've been taught to what where I am and you are, that's a whole course. You can't have that in a conversation. It takes
well, by the way,
with module 1.
That's true. Oh my God, that's so funny. See why I love talking to this woman, guys. Like she's so awesome. Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're so sweet.
And Patricia, you have so much wisdom and you have so much to share, and there's no surprise that you're so successful. And, like when I was thinking about, asking you to be on the podcast, I was like, here is this woman, like, cause you guys, like I download a lot of podcasts and I watch a lot of the heavy hitters that are out there, the Lewis Howes and, like everybody he's interviewing and all of that. And like, you're so humble and like people like you know what I mean? Like I want to lift you up and be like,
thank you.
Like, listen, cause you got so much amazing, so many amazing things to share and so much wisdom. And
thank you.
like everybody watching this, please share this information because this is how we change the world, you guys. And this is what, this is what we're here doing. And the way to change the world is by changing you. And that's what Patricia teaches you.
Yeah.
Right?
I teach you how to change yourself to a better version.
How does uncaused joy sound?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, and I have to tell you a funny story really quick. So sometimes, like I have teenagers and I'm just going to be real. Like, I'm sure they dabble in things that they don't drink. They don't drink a lot. Let's just put it that way. And they're like, do you ever do that? Whatever. And like with marijuana or THC or whatever. And I mean, I used to a lot. And I tell them, I'm like, you guys, like, I don't need that. Like, I don't need any substance to create the joy in my life. I'm like, you guys, and this is the funny part. I'm like, I just walk around high all the time. Like, like I'm just high. Right? And yes, I have a glass of wine here and there. And my husband and I love to have wine. And, like, we're such nerds. Like sometimes we'll just forget to have wine, like whatever. And it doesn't rule our life. It's not a huge part of our life. It's something we enjoy together on our date nights and whatever. But just being able to be happy without, an external or something, right. In your own container. Right. And then share that, like, how powerful that activation of that heart is, right? And I feel like when I met you, like we had that activation with each other, and it's like this is how I'm going to show up. And I made that choice a few months ago. I said I'm just going to show up and be awesome.
Yes, right? And you do every single time. Yeah,
right. And that was my decision, and that was one of those things that I study with Bob, being able to make a decision. And he's like, when you decide. Right. And you decided, like, think about like that, how powerful that was with you. I am never going to have surgery again. Mm-hmm. I am not, I'm like, I'm not going to let anyone cut into my my beautiful sacred temple, which is perfect. Right. Yeah. And figure out a way on my own. Like, you're so powerful. And I feel like you're like, I don't know, this is going to uncover you.
Oh, thanks, Heidi.
Yeah, Patricia is world famous in my book, and a game changer. Like you actually change people's lives, and you are healing, teaching people how to heal themselves, which is, I mean, literally the most brilliant thing, and how humble that is too, because when you guys, you look at the Western medicine, and there's so much ego in it, right? And it's I have another girl coming on to a podcast, and her dad is a MD, and she talks about that. She's like, I had this debilitating disease and my dad's an MD. Like, crazy town, right? Like, how can that even be?
Yeah.
If, so something isn't working. So I don't know. Would you like to expand?
I think the most powerful position to be in is the autonomous position when it comes to just about anything, especially with your own health, because if you don't have that, of course, you're stuck managing discomfort and suffering your entire life. So the more autonomy you can gain in your own health, everybody already has what it takes to heal their body. They just haven't been taught how to use it. I just teach you how to use it. And then once you learn how to use it, nobody can take it away from you. You can't unknow what you already know. You can't unsee what you already see. And that's what makes you autonomous. You break you cut the rhythm, or the ribbon rather, of the authority figure over your own health. Like, they don't call it a health authority by accident. They call it a health authority because they know your brain is going to be attracted to that. They know your brain is going to attach to that. That's not an accident. So become your own health authority.
Oh, it's so good. Okay. So I'm going to put you on the spot here for a second.
Okay.
So you're saying with the EMF stuff, right? So Thaddeus has a big community of people that are interested in a lot of the EMF, protection. And we do a lot of stuff in our home and whatever. But we also, like, protect our space with golden light, and we do actually a ritual around our property to protect our home. And there's a lot of things that we do on our land and in our house, and I smudge and, like, beyond, right? Like and I can go quite witchy in that, and then I come back around, and it's like like, who cares? And I'm just like drawn to something, like impulsed, and then I'm guided actually to do that. Is there something like a light, a specific light, or a specific, like, mantra, or like, how do you protect yourself with the EMF? Or is there a little, like, 2-minute, like, visualization you can do with us right now? Or
I think I don't use gizmos anymore, or physical products, because I think there's no greater power than the power that we have on the inside. And the more you grow that power, the less impact the outer world has on you. And so, like, I can walk into a COVID hospital and not get COVID because I've grown that power inside me. And so I would say, let's see, we could probably drop a mini little recording in here after we're done. And
oh, really?
Yeah, and then just leave the link on there. Do you want to do that?
Oh my God! If you're willing to do that,
yeah, it'll take me a couple of days to get it organized.
Really?
But I can drop it in there.
Like, these are the people I want to surround myself with. Oh, Patricia, that's so sweet. Love
it'll
that.
just be like a 10-minute thing that you could really get the taste of your own power on the inside, and really get the feel of your own healing state, and that how powerful you really are.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Okay, let's do that.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna keep putting you on the spot then. I'm just kidding.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. I mean, you are on the podcast. Yeah. Oh, yes. Someone else is saying too, like, you should not be a secret. Well, and also, like, with Shanda, you guys, if you don't know Shanda Sumner, she's a business coach, and she's quite popular right now. And she's working on her fertility, right? And
I know, I've thought, we could do that.
Right?
Yeah.
I've even thought of, like, talking to her about some of the urine therapy stuff. I actually came across the urine therapy with drinking other pregnant women's urine, helping people with fertility.
Oh, and you don't even need that.
Well, and I was gonna say, I'm sure you can up the ante on that. You're so funny. Yeah.
No, I mean, you don't have to go to outside to get something to fix the inside. There's common things that cause fertility issues.
Okay.
And then as soon as you know what they are and then recog your brain, then
Yeah.
good to go.
So I mean, I hear a lot from you is paradigm, and the same thing that Bob's talking about, and Bob Proctor, right?
But I think even the word paradigm is misunderstood, don't you think?
Oh,
because I think people just think it's just a mental thing. It's a whole being thing. It's the way you are. It's not just how you think. It is the way you are.
Yeah, because it's programmed in your cells, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the part. And he does speak a little bit about that because he says we're a triune being, right? Like we're not just the mind, we're not just the body. And
I know he does, but a lot of people think a paradigm is just your way of thinking, like mindset or something. Yeah.
I think of limiting, like immediately I think of limiting belief, right? And but I guess I've gone a little bit deeper too, like with the knowingness, right? And that's what like in the Kundalini, like we say the Sanskrit words of empowerment because those 84 reflex points, and this is what I was taught by my teachers, right, is those 84 reflex points are sending information to the rest of your body.
Yes.
Right? So
that's the same thing with ritual, like smudging. It sends the information to your body. This is what you see, believe, and feel. So you can do that sitting in a chair and conjuring it in your head, or you can smudge, which I love smudging because I just love it. And the other rituals are the same thing as sitting there with your head. So it's really no different because you set your being on a different level.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. This has been such a beautiful conversation. I'm so humbled and lucky to know you and to be able to have you on my podcast and to be sharing you with the rest of the world.
I'm so happy to be here, and I would do anything with you anytime. You know that because we became sisters in that leadership program.
I know. I love that. And I don't have any sisters. My daughter's like,
yes, you do.
She's my sister, and now I have a sister. Everybody, it's so fun. I love it.
So fun. I do too. Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored.
Yeah. Well, and if you're game, Patricia, I would love to come back. Like you guys, we got through 2 pages of questions and I have 8 more.
Okay.
So if you're willing, I would love to have you come back again and we'll go a little bit deeper. Is there anything that you want to say, like, and in parting ways to the audience about, I mean, we'll for sure, put in links to how to get in contact with Patricia, you guys, and how to definitely, I would say, you guys 100% sign up for her newsletter. Are you sending an email every day? I feel like I see one come through.
It starts off as every day, and then a few. It tapers. Yes.
Okay. But even your emails, like we're so inundated with emails these days. Yeah. Your emails are so tailored. Like I honestly, like I'm looking at you as not just a like energetic healing mentor, but you're like also a business mentor, and they're so digestible. And it's like you read her email and you know what she's talking about, and it doesn't go on and on and on and on. And it's absolutely incredible information. And then she's like, here's a free ebook. Here's another one, here's a meditation. And you're so generous and you're so giving. And like, you're literally like that I want to do what you're doing with my business. So
thanks.
Yeah. I mean, you're really a hero. And so I had Thaddeus sign up for your stuff. Cause I'm like, he just wrote an ebook on the hibernation diet and cycling your eating habits with the seasons. And
that's what the Chinese do. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. So
isn't it?
I was like, Thaddeus, I was like, look at her ebook. I set it out, I printed it out, and he was like, yeah, this is really good. Like the way you've laid it out. And just like, I mean, and I think that like, sometimes Patricia, people go, oh, people are copying me or whatever. But I would imagine like in your mind, like there's no greater compliment, right? Like, I love that.
Oh, when you start to produce things and you start to share them, people copy them. It's a given. So I just accept it as a given, and
right.
That's it. Yeah.
Well, and not copying the content, right? But just like, this is a beautiful way to get information to people. And that's what we all want, right?
Exactly.
a conglomerate of healers, right? Like we all want to raise everybody together.
Yes.
And the way that you can deliver information, I think like you could teach that to people, right? Like,
Oh, and when I have time.
yeah, right.
I'll do that when I have time.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, and I'm an idea generator. I'm a generator.
Yeah, that's true.
But I'm you're are you too? Yeah, clearly.
No, I'm not.
Oh, you're not? Oh, I thought
No.
you're not what are you, a manifester? In the gene, is it Gene Keys? I'm not sure.
Oh, I can't remember what I am, but
Okay.
I didn't think I was a generator.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? Okay. Because
Yeah.
you're so like you have a lot of stuff
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah.
It seems like you are, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
Anyway.
What are the labels again? Do you remember?
Well, I think it's it's manifester, and you can be a combination manifester, generator, and then there's one more if anybody knows what it is. I can't remember. I don't
It
study
doesn't
that.
matter.
Yeah, I study a little bit more astrology than I do that, but I just know that I'm an idea generator. I'm always like, Thaddeus, here's this idea. And he's like, okay, I'll get right on that and make it happen, Heidi. but honestly, what I was trying to say is like, like when you have a layout that is like, it's really clean and it's giving people information that's like, because like people don't have a lot of time these days and we don't have a reflector. Thank you. Yeah. People don't have a lot of time. I think I've heard people say we're time starved or something. And I'm like, I reject that anyway.
Totally.
I don't. Yeah. No. But most people don't have a lot of time. And when you can deliver information in the way that I've seen you do that in print, right? In emails, it's brilliant and it's not overwhelming.
You know what the trick is?
What?
I hate fluff.
Okay.
Yeah. I hate fluff. So if I have to read 4 paragraphs down to get to the information that I want, that's too fluffy for me. I don't want to wait. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Do you think, but here's the thing though, like you would think that you wouldn't have a lot of, storytelling in your stuff, but you do, you tell quite a story but it's not fluff. You're right.
No, it's not fluff.
It's definitely setting the stage, right?
Yeah.
It's brilliant. Yeah.
So if I was going to tell you a story like about the bear, I'm not going to say like I had to climb over a fence and I had to, I walked up a hill and all that kind of stuff. I went down the trail, the end, and then there was the bear. So I didn't tell you everything that happened on the way down there. So
I stopped and picked some wildflowers. That would be my story. Yeah. I'd be like,
and then the sun was just this much from the mountaintop.
Oh my God, that's so funny. Yeah. I mean, we could do a whole nother podcast.
We could go on. Yeah.
Totally. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, let's end it there. And is there any parting words that you want to share with everybody?
I would say, don't make your body a secret. Be intimate with how your body operates. And all you have to do is, turn your eyes inward, live in the world behind your eyes for a few minutes a day. Don't think that your body is less powerful than all of the stuff that's out in the world. Your body was made to manage and thrive through way more than you can imagine. And don't give up on it, because it is a miracle. I see it almost every day. People switching from a state of poverty in terms of their body to a state of flourishing in terms of their body. I see that almost every day, and we can get over way more than most people think.
So beautiful. And you can use that not just for your health too. Like you can use
everything
for everything, right? Yeah. It's so beautiful. Patricia, thank you so much for your time. I'm so honored to have you.
Thank you, Heidi. Thank you so much for inviting me to be on with you. I mean, we could talk for years probably.
Seriously.
So thank you. Thank you so much.
And I'm going to say goodbye to everybody on YouTube. So thanks for joining us, everybody who's joining and commenting.